case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
While you were hobnobbing with Johnny, trying to talk him off the ledge, I suggested the top 5 would include Wolves, Wild, some Vikings Nuggets, and perhaps the end of the run for the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, it was a good run. We had a good week. Yeah, I don't know. We'll remind you that Wolves and Wild play tonight.
Oh, they do?
They do.
Oh.
We'll remind you of that. We've talked about them a lot. I want to get to the Vikings sound.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we'll do that. But we can mention, because I watched it, the late game meltdown by the Minnesota Twins. I don't know if you caught it yesterday.
I did not. I thought we were in good position. Weren't we up 3-1 in that game for a while?
Yes.
I thought we were in complete control, and I frankly just assumed it was a victory.
It was not. We were up.
Bullpen woes, apparently?
Yes, we were up 3-1 until the 9th inning, when we gave up 3, went down 4-3, had to grease out a run just to get to extras, and then gave up 3 in the 10th.
Didn't we get a challenge that cost us? Did it end the game?
Yes,
on a successful challenge by the opposition.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly right. It was
dramatic.
right at the top of the zone. So the hottest team in baseball is no longer.
Four straight losses now.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the standings.
I'm going to guess we no longer have the best record in the American League.
We don't. In fact, we're third now in the American League Central at 11-11. The Guardians are on top, 13-10.
Some defensive issues this weekend as well, they tell me.
A ball got, I can't remember which inning it was, but it went kind of between third and short.
Didn't we commit 2 errors on that one play?
Yeah. It went past the third baseman. Shortstop then chilled. Left fielder gets it, throws it, and it gets cut off for no reason. I think that actually gave Cincinnati the lead. It was a mess, and it was, again, those little details, like you say, the fielding, all of that stuff, and they end up losing. So now they head to the Big Apple. They get a much-deserved off day today, licking their wounds and heading to take on the New York Mets tomorrow.
Oh, the Mets. The Mets are terrible.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the Mets have a double-digit losing streak. So we're either catching them at the right time or we're catching them at the wrong time.
Or they're catching us at the right time.
They could look at that way, too. I can't wait.
They've lost 11 in a row.
11 in a row for Mike Yo,
for Boudreau.
Yeah.
So that all happens tomorrow. All right, let's hear from Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson. He spoke today.
Out?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, okay.
But here's what he had to say about Kyler Murray. And a little bit later, what he has to say about J.J. McCarthy.
I'm definitely looking for those, big, exciting plays. Definitely looking forward to his speed, his quickness, his arm strength that he's shown countless times over the years. And then it's just, for JJ, for somebody to enter that room with that type of ability, that type of talent, he's got to step it up a little bit. So it's good for him to, feel that type of pressure and to really, lock in a little bit and say it's either now or, I'm going to take that backseat again. So it's all a competitive mindset when it comes to these type of things. So it's all about who's ready for that moment and who's ready to step up and take that initiative.
Very good answer.
I thought it was a great answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer. It's him not. It's not necessarily him having it both ways. It's him kind of laying it out and saying, all right, it's going to be one or the other. And so we'll see if JJ can accept the challenge or curl up in the fetal position as 9 might. Of course, part of that is you got to stay on the field. Then again, so's the other guy. The other guy has had difficulty staying on the field as well. Who's our third stringer? Oh, it's Carson. Right?
Yes, Carson Wentz is still here.
We might end up seeing a lot more of Wentz this year than you anticipated. By the way, speaking of W's, Wexler Wednesday this week, correct?
Yes.
He is scheduled to join us as usual.
That's what I anticipate.
I certainly would be shocked if that was not arranged.
It's kind of like a Bill Murray thing.
We're down to 1 visit a year with him.
I know.
This is it.
It's kind of like a Bill Murray thing where I almost have to call like an answering service, and you never know until you know. But it's not like I just directly get to him. So we'll see how it goes.
The best.
Yeah, I'm
optimistic.
Fairly confident because he's never turned us down. Kevin Seifert will join you tomorrow. Alec Lewis will join you on Wednesday. Ben Gessling will join you on Friday. And we should have another good week of draft coverage because even though it's playoff madness right now, the NFL draft is on Thursday. The man in charge.
And the Wolves play Thursday night. What about, is the
Wild play Wednesday?
Wild play Wednesday, right?
Yep,
Okay. That's
Wednesday and Saturday.
Gotcha.
So the Wild are clear on Thursday, but the Wolves do play. It's the first game back here. So it could either be a really fun environment or it could be people angry.
Yeah.
Very, very angry. So that's the most important JJ bite.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's hear the Rob Brzezinski soundbite regarding Jonathan Grenard. Not Justin Guard, Jonathan Grenard. Although
the Vikings JG.
Yes, in this answer, Briz, as we call him, does say something that you say when there's no Go for Sports. I expect JG to be here. So we'll see how that goes.
I mean, JG's a great player. I mean, I expect JG to be here. You know, it's like there's all this speculation. You know, there's been speculation. There's conversations that take place with respect to players all the time on rosters. And for some reason, sometimes some things get public and you know, other times they don't. But, yeah, he's a really good player and a special person and a leader. And we're really happy he's a part of our team.
Philadelphia among those.
Expressing interest
in having him as a potential target, although I think it was Shefty that said they've got other options too, but they're zeroing in on Grenard. Like, if you guys don't just give us Grenard, we're fine. We'll go get somebody else, but that's kind of the news that we know.
I'd rather have the player than the draft pick, to be honest with you, because they're not going to get a 1 for him. I don't think there's any chance of that. So would you take a 2? I mean, a 2 is a highly coveted pick, but again, it sounds good, but Grenard's still in his prime. Unless I'm missing something on Grenard, I don't understand how the possibility of him not being here works. Now, what we don't know is how militant his agent is being regarding the contract situation.
Right.
It's more they're grousing, but in the end, he knows he's under contract. He's not going to miss a season. So he'll come back and not be particularly loved about it or happy about it, and that gets back to whether you're going to get the best out of him. I don't know where that goes, but it does have to be resolved one way or the other.
So Rob Brzezinski talked today. I watched the entire press conference, and it was this answer, Dan. He's the interim general manager. And he was asked, would you like the job or do you like the role? And he says, yep, I love working with the people. Everything's great. And then he had this answer, and I said, I don't know why we're looking any further. Why would we look any further when you hear what Rob Brzezinski has to say about some of the things that he's seen in terms of making sure a building is successful?
And I've seen, you know, a lot. I haven't seen everything, but I've seen a lot. I just enjoy working with the people. What I enjoy is consensus building, you know, the collaboration, you know, getting everybody aligned. And also when there is an alignment, trying to find, you know, that alignment and understand how different people see things differently. A lot of times they see it the same, but once you translate it, you realize everybody's on the same page. They just might be grading different, or they might just be describing it different. But I just love the process of team building, you know, and just working through that aspect of it.
So that's I counted, I think, minimum of 5, you know, jargony cliches.
I think
that
you
all
missed
kind of
the
fit
first
together.
one. That's a sneaky important one or a new one. Consensus building.
That's true.
Consensus building is almost like an intentionality.
Very close. Very close.
Case closed, right? If you're marking Ziggy, you go right in front of our very eyes.
Well, right after the season or at some point, one of the first ones, I think I told you that I don't think we played it, but I said right there it was a similar kind of thing. I was shocked because I think of Brzezinski as a throwback guy.
Me too.
He's been around, you know, with Spielman.
I know.
And I go, my God, he's been infected by this new lingo, this new language here, and maybe he feels like that's how he gives himself the best chance.
You have to play the game
to get the job. I don't know. We'll have to see.
You search for alignment, and if you don't find alignment, then you have to build alignment. I think is what I heard.
Something like that. That's very
true. Just remember that.
Anything good from KOC today? Or pretty basic?
I didn't really listen to that part of it. He was the one to mention Grenard wasn't there. I didn't listen to much KOC.
The only thing I heard of KOC is they're continuing to try to leave Harrison Smith alone and give him as much time as necessary to come to his final decision, which I thought we all were assuming he finally was going to pull the plug. But maybe it's the old deal of you get closer to it and you go, well, no, I
got one more ride.
Got one more ride, and I don't. The question is whether that would have any impact on us taking a safety in the first round. My guess is it wouldn't.
I don't think it should,
and it probably shouldn't. But we'll have to see where that goes, and there has to be a cutoff point on Smith. By the way, there's still no announcement on A-Rod going back to Pittsburgh, right?
That's true. You're right.
Because the new rumor was they're hosting the draft, and that he was going to basically come out to make the Pittsburgh picks and then announce, I'm back.
That would be very A-Rod.
Which would be dramatic.
Yeah, that would be A-Rod, wouldn't it?
But the Steelers are discouraging that notion, which tells me it's unlikely unless they're just trying to do a bummerooski.
Speaking of alignment, let me get you aligned on what is going on later tonight right here on The Fan. 7 o'clock, an extended Minnesota Wild pregame show. 7 o'clock, extended Wild pregame.
How many interviews from beyond the pond?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
So that's coming up at 7. Then Wild and Stars, game 2, a little bit after 8:30. Wolves are on the Timberwolves channel of your iHeartRadio app. They are on Twin Cities News Talk AM 1130 and FM 103.5.
And then you are tonight, after the Wolves game, doing Howlin' with the homies tonight. Is that correct?
We'll see what happens. Oh. No, I'm not scheduled to.
All right.
But if something good happens,
who's to say?
We might pop on a StreamYard. I don't know.
There you go.
I'm not
who's
sure.
To say?
So that's the alignment for tonight. TheFanandBigDeck.com. Want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. Final keyword of the evening is rich. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword rich.
Wes Walz in about 15 or 20 minutes when we come back. 2 things that absolutely make no sense whatsoever to me. Stay tuned.
And playoff time calls for Carboni's Pizza, game day fuel since 1954. Fuel your Game 2 playoff party tonight by ordering at carbonispizza.com.
All right, 2 quick items. One is related to the apparently visceral online reaction to the broadcast team on the TV side of Game 1, Wolves Nuggets. On the TV side, Kevin Harlan, of course, was on play-by-play. We had a great conversation with him Friday. If you missed it, go back and podcast it. It will be worth your time for sure. But along with Harlan, the analysts were Dwayne Wade and Candace Parker. I'm looking at this is via Yahoo Sports headline. Wade and Parker face heat for terrible commentary during Nuggets Timberwolves Game 1. I'm not here to say that I think the team is headed for necessarily the Broadcast Hall of Fame, but I'm curious about how much enmity there is in the reaction. And it's hard not to come away from it wondering, because you got to read some of the comments about Parker especially. Like, well, what is she doing analyzing this stuff? And I'm thinking, seriously? Have you paid attention to her career at all?
Pretty good.
I'm talking about as a broadcaster. And I thought, again, is it my favorite duo? No, but I thought they were right on point regarding a number of key analyses in terms of especially what was ailing the Wolves and when it was going good as opposed to when it was going bad. I enjoyed the broadcast. I enjoy any broadcast that includes Harlan, obviously, but right. I didn't come away from it going, Jesus, where did they get these guys? What do they know anything about these teams? I couldn't disagree more. I don't know how much of it you watched, but all
of it, and I didn't come away with that at all. I didn't think they got in the way. I thought it was fine. Maybe it's my Harlan love and just everything sounds better when said by Kevin Harlan.
But there were a number of times where I think Wade came in with, hey, look, he said the same thing the head coach did after the game, what Johnny wrote about. When the ball moved for the Wolves, their offense was better. When it stagnated, it was not so good. You could say that might be stating the obvious, but in real time, that was an important observation to make. And there were a number of good, pithy comments, I thought, on the Denver side as well. So I came away going, well, I don't know if there's something else at work there, and I understand all of this is taste, but there was nothing in that broadcast, I don't believe, that merited this level of vitriol that I'm seeing online in a number of different locations. Here's the other quickie, and it's human nature, because to a certain extent we all do this. But I agree with what 612 guy writes. I hate to break it to people, but nobody cares about start times and how they're absolutely ruining people's lives. Are late starts ideal? Obviously not, but get over it. Either watch or don't. Either allow your kids to stay up or don't. Sheesh. I agree with that. I mean, I do the teeth in the glass joke ongoing because it's sort of part of the tradition here. And the older you get, sometimes it is a little bit harder to stay up.
I do the West Coast Wolves wellness plan.
Exactly.
And tonight it's going to be tested.
But as it will. But at some point, in all honesty, if you are truly not a media member, but if you're a fan of a team, and I can remember being a fan of a team and teams once upon a time, you don't care. You don't love it, but you go, I'm interested. I'm going to watch. Period. End of story. And it has become this new tradition like, gee, oh my God, what are we doing? That's absurd. Nobody can watch these games. The fact is, you can watch these games, and you can even, in many cases, find time for your children to watch these games. It's not ideal, but we all know what the reality is. If you have two games, and they're going to start the first one in prime time, an East Coast game, the second one's going to start close to 9 o'clock. Now, maybe you want to argue, well, go ahead then and stagger them differently. Have two games going on at once. We can have that discussion. But at some point, this notion that somebody's got some explaining to do, and how could you do this, and how could anybody enjoy any of this? You're either into it, the experience, or you're not. And I'd be the first to say this falls under the classification of, and believe me, I can whine with the best of them. Just, I think, at some point, whining out of a sense of obligation or tradition, because that's supposed to be the cool thing to say again. Oh, God, another 8:40 start. Ideal? No. But it's the way of the world, and
we should be used to it by now.
I can tell you, I grew up watching some good Chicago Bulls team, pre-Michael Jordan, take on the L.A. Lakers almost every year, it seemed like, in the playoffs. And what you got used to was, when they're playing at the Fabulous Forum, the game is probably going to start at 9:30. Central Time in this case. And you go, is that great? No, it isn't. But that's just the way it is. And if you're into the team, you don't care. You either watch it or you don't watch it, or DVR it and watch it in the morning.
And when the Wolves are in the Eastern Conference in 2 years,
there you go.
We're going to be complaining that we can't even get home from work.
You're right. That's true.
We're stuck in rush hour. We're not even home yet, and we haven't even had dinner as a family and can't watch the 6 o'clock game.
That will be the other extreme. You're 100% correct. All right. You have questions for Wes Walz? He's coming up next. Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line 64686, because, like the Wolves, the Wild are on the road for a game 2. Wild in a much, much better position, obviously. We'll get Walz's reaction to game 1 and what we might expect for game number 2. Dateline Dallas, you think he's down there, he says.
That's
correct?
what I think, because he's got to get on a bus in about a half an hour.
We'll find out next. Questions coming in for our special guest at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour. Wes Walz, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Keep the texts and questions coming. 64686. Are you catching a bus to a media bus to get to the arena in Dallas? Is that correct?
Yeah, that media bus is at 6 o'clock. So
we'll get you out. We'll get you out on time.
It's all good. I got 20 minutes. It's always great, Dan, whenever I hear from you, because I know when I hear from you, it's around playoff time, and we're playing in the playoffs.
That's it.
I remember last year breaking down Marco Rossi's goal for 20 minutes with you.
Yeah. Well, we hope it gets extended. That's the thing. I want this to be conversation we can have well into May. That's the idea. Not just one series, but several series, because to me, that's when it gets interesting. The turns, the twists involving best of 7 series, the adjustments that have to be made, the controversies. To me, that's when it's fun. And, we've had that with the Wolves, obviously, the last 2 years where they got into the conference finals. It's been great. I hope we get them from both teams, but I want to see it. I want to be able to sustain this for more than anything else, the fans, right? To have a greater understanding. They don't know, Wes, what it feels like, largely, to see hockey well into May, and feel like, oh, well, this is just part of the deal.
Dan, listen, I've lived here for 26 years now, since 2000. I'm well aware of what's going on.
Yes, that's very true.
I feel the exact same way. It would be nice to kind of go on an extended run here, and obviously the Wild with their great performance really in Game 1 have put themselves, Dan, in a position where they have an amazing opportunity tonight, and this franchise here has never been up 2-0 in a series in 24 years in the playoffs. I think it's 5 or 6 times we've been up 1-0 and not be able to go up 2-0 and really take a stranglehold of a series. So I'm really looking forward to see what we get here tonight. And we all know Dallas is going to bring their A game, and I'm as interested as everybody else to see what we're going to get from the Minnesota Wild. I know it's going to be a slugfest here tonight, and I expect the Wild to actually put a great product on the ice. I know enough about these guys in the locker room, the moves that Billy Guerin brought in, the big bodies, and obviously Quinn played a great game for a guy that hadn't played in 10 games or 10 days, had been sick, played 25 minutes. He said he feels like he's going to be better in Game 2 than he was in Game 1. I thought he was outstanding, especially defensively in his own zone.
Louis, earlier today with us, I expect the first 10 minutes to be a complete assault. What I hope for the Wild in the first 10 minutes is that they don't take any penalties. To me, another way to look at it is you expect, obviously, Dallas is playing for its lives tonight, and you want to just sort of absorb the blows, the adrenaline rush, and maybe after that 10-minute period, it's still 0-0 and you've won. Or maybe even you're only down by a goal. You just want to survive it in a way where at the other end of it you go, okay, they got that out of their system and this game is still winnable.
I couldn't agree more with Louis. That's kind of how I feel going into this game. I feel like Wally is going to have to be really, really sharp the first 5-8 minutes of this game. That's going to be very important because they're going to get a couple scoring opportunities. It's going to be very important for the Wild to kind of weather the storm and just play a very simple, low risk game. It's interesting, we had when I played in 2003 under Jacques Lemaire there in the playoffs, and I remember him saying it many times. We're playing against great teams. Like there's going to be times when you're playing great teams, Dan, that they're going to have pushes. They're going to have pushes for 4, 5, 6 minutes. You have to hang on.
Yep,
and I remember many times on the bench, the coaches, the players would all I remember talking about it and saying, hey, listen, the waves are coming. Everybody buckle down. Mm-hmm. Everybody buckle down. And then I remember, Jock saying, hey, they can't play like this forever. They can't play like this forever. I could still hear his voice behind the bench. And then all of a sudden he was right. We'd get 1 or 2 good shifts, a couple of good saves, and we'd be out of the zone and kind of flip the script. So that's kind of the way I'm hoping it's going to go here this evening.
Let's go back to get some of your impressions from Game 1. So much went well. I don't know that the Wild could have hoped for a better opener, even though you know this better than I. It's one game. You haven't won the series in Game 1 generally. But what's at the top of your list? What stood out to you? What encouraged you the most?
I think the part that encouraged me the most was the way the Minnesota Wild broke out of their own end, out of their own zone. Their D-zone exits. Coming into the series, Dallas has one of the heaviest teams in the NHL, one of the biggest teams in the NHL. They've always prided themselves, Dan, on being an amazing forecheck team. And I think they were 4th or 5th in the National Hockey League at getting scoring chances off of forecheck. So going into the game, the Wild kind of have, obviously they have a very agile set of defensemen, but they're a little on the smaller side. So I thought that they would put a lot of pucks into the zone and just try to forecheck and beat us up. And to be honest with you, they did. And the Minnesota Wild agility in their own zone and the execution coming out of their own zone, whether it was skating or that first pass to get past the pressure, was something that I did not anticipate. And we're going to actually break it down here in the pregame show.
Nice.
In a few hours. It's something we're going to look at because watching the game back, it was just something that just really, really stood out at me. Their coach, Gulletson, was asked about that exact situation, about the it was asked about it actually this morning. What do they have to do to get a little bit more forecheck? It's something that Dallas has always done well. He did say that they were going to make an adjustment here tonight on how they forecheck. He wasn't going to share it with anybody. So I'll be watching closely to what they're going to do. But so that's kind of their calling card, their forecheck. So that's something that I'm going to be watching very, very closely here tonight. And I started to give some thought as to what maybe Galton was talking about as far as maybe an adjustment.
Sure.
And one of those adjustments, Dan, possibly could be just to have their defensemen in the offensive zone pinch down the wall, a lot more than they did. So actually maybe take a little bit more risk, add a little bit more risk to their game to try to get their defensemen involved, at least to keep more pucks alive in the offensive zone to try to bottle up the Wild. So I think reading into what he's saying, that's kind of in my mind what I'm thinking I'm going to see in the first period. So that's something I'm going to be watching for, and I'm sure we're going to talk about in the first intermission if that's what we end up watching.
That's a tantalizing point, and we'll all be watching for that being one of the possibilities tonight for sure. It's like I said, it really is what I like about best of 7 series. That's what happens. The team that loses generally isn't going to stay the course. They're going to try to throw something out at you, and then it's how you react to that, and then how the other team reacts to the next adjustment as well. Let's go back to the goaltending decision. Are we still
talking about that?
Yes, because I think because I think it was gutsy, and I honestly believe, like Russo does, that they originally intended to start Gus, and that they changed their mind, and I give them credit for it because I don't think it was the easiest. To me, the easiest decision was the old, okay, they're both good, but hey, he's been our guy. He's got playoff experience. We're going to count on the fact that he's going to rebound from maybe a shaky finish. I was impressed by the decision. Were you at all surprised by it, or did you think it was a no-brainer?
No, I did not think it was a no-brainer. And I've said this many times. I thought over the last couple weeks that the ball was wrestled away from Gustafsson by Wallstedt. Mm-hmm. And I think in particularly, Dan, the last 2 games, I think just really sealed the deal for Wally. Not just the 35 of 37 at home for Wally against Anaheim in the last game where the Wild fans were chanting Wally when he went off the ice there in the third period, but Gus's last start in St. Louis didn't look sharp again. So I think those two, the last 2 games kind of just really sealed the fate. I think they were probably leaning Gus, but I mean, how can you look past what your eyes were telling you, Dan? I think it was the right choice. Obviously there's a lot of pressure on John Hines to make the right decision, and I wasn't going to sit back and criticize because either way, because I've been in that situation where we've gone into playoffs and had 2 unbelievable goalies at the back end. And to be honest with you, I didn't pay any attention to who the coach said was going to be game 1 against Colorado. We just got to be ready. We've got our own things to worry about. We knew we were going to get good goaltending, and but obviously Wally went in there and played incredible, especially for a rookie goaltender that we would have expected to see some nerves a little bit early in the game. But fortunately for Wally, the first 2 or 3 shots that he had on the net were just kind of easy shots that kind of hit him right in the breadbasket and kind of took those nerves away. And then he made a couple saves that we're going to talk about again in the pregame show at the end of the second period, Dan, when they scored that power play goal to make it 4-1. And I did not like that penalty at all that Urov took, kind of got them back into this game. And you can just see how quickly momentum could change. After they made it 4-1, they were all over us.
No question.
Just made 2 unbelievable saves in the last 3 or 4 minutes. And for me, that that pretty much ended the game right there. The Wild got to the locker room 4-1 after 2, and he was incredible.
Yeah, that's exactly what we talked about yesterday on the show. And we got into that a little bit with Louis, because that's still a big cushion. But as you know, you get it to 4-2, places going crazy. Who's to say? And that's where he had his best moments. I do have one other goalie question for you that I ran by Louis as a former player, and I want to run by you too, because he said, look, if you're a player, you're going to say publicly, we love both our goaltenders. And by the way, you could mean it. But he acknowledged to me, he said, look, players are human, and they can sense if one guy's going better than the other just as easily as anybody else can, and that Louis thinks that can sometimes have an impact on a decision that a coach makes in a given situation that you got to read your room. And if the feeling is, no matter what's being said publicly, the team feels more confident with one guy than the other because he's just going better, that's got to be part of the process too. Do you agree?
I do. I 100% do. And, the players in the locker room, when you're around the locker room, the players, the coaches, for us on the outside, it's difficult to know what the body language is of Gustafson after games, what goes on in locker rooms. But listen, looking back at 03, I know Rolison started that series and Manny ended up finishing the series. And what would be interesting to look back on, and if somebody goes back to 2003, look at how was Rolison playing much better than Manny Fernandez going into that series? That would be something that would be interesting to look at. But this for the Wild players in the locker room, Dan, this wasn't like 1 week where one goalie played 2 games and the other played 2 games and one was good. This was over a month of below average play. I mean, and so if you're a coach, you got to think to yourself, we all know who's playing better right now. I don't know how the players would have reacted if Gus would have played. Obviously, they're going to say the right things. They're going to play hard all the time. That we all know that. But just having him back there and the way he is playing, just knowing going into a game that from a mental standpoint that you probably don't need 5 to win tonight. If you get 3. If you get 3, you're going to win. Just the way he's playing, and that's kind of just the way it played out.
You mentioned, the Wild in recent years. In fact, the last 3 times the Wild been in the playoffs, they've had 2-1 series leads and been unable to finish the deal. Do you feel like what prompts a team to taking full advantage of that and take the next step, like get ahead 3 games to 1? The boot on the throat mentality. Is it execution? Is it this team might be better equipped to do it simply because it's a better team? How do you gauge all of that?
The great teams, Dan, that can win Stanley Cups, that can win NBA championships, they put the same product on the ice every game, regardless if it's up 1-0 or down 2-0. Like for me, the pressure tonight is on Dallas. Obviously, they're down 1-0. We're talking about. We were talking earlier about, hanging on and weathering the storm at the beginning of this game. Wally's going to have to probably make 1 or 2 saves, just kind of wait till the sun comes out after 6-7 minutes, and that's the key. But I'm telling you, if the Wild come out here tonight and they win the opening faceoff, get it in, and they start getting things going the first 6, 7, 8 minutes of the game, now all of a sudden some doubt creeps in on the other side. We're like, what the? This is. Listen, Dallas is going to start thinking this team came in Game 78 in the regulation. Yeah, we beat them 5-4, but we absolutely dominated that game. Don't think the players in the Dallas locker room don't forget about that. Even though they won the game, we should have won that game 6-2. That's how good we actually probably played better. We played better in that regulation game in Game 78 than we actually even did in Game 1. And don't kid yourself, those guys in that Dallas locker room after that game regulation. During the season, they were sitting in their locker room going, how the heck did we win that game? And on the other side, the Wild are looking, how did we lose that game? So I think the Wild built a lot of confidence from that game at the end of the regular season and then now into Game 1. So this can Wild have an opportunity, Dan, to put their foot on the other team's throat. You've heard, I've listened to Billy Guerin with you on, you've heard him say it more than once. He won a few Stanley Cups in his day, that guy. He knows what it's all about and what it feels like and smells like. Tonight is an amazing, amazing opportunity to really send a message to a really good team that, yes, you saw our A-plus game, and you're going to see our A-plus game again tonight. It might not be enough, Dan. Maybe it's not enough. Maybe Ottinger plays a great game. Their power play steps up and scores a couple big goals. Maybe it's not enough. But chances are, if you put another A-plus or A game out there, I like our chances. The
other thing we've talked a lot about on the show and that we got into with Russo and I think Billy to a degree late last week is in Game 1, I thought they did a good job. You mentioned the one penalty you did not like that might have opened the door, but that generally speaking, I thought they did a good job not being sucked in to, the nonsense where obviously the team that's far behind is saying, all right, we got nothing to lose here. Let's see if we can just get them going and get some 4-minute power plays, whatever the case may be. That largely it's the old deal of playing with an edge, but not playing stupid when you have the lead. That's a big thing too, isn't it?
Well, it's gigantic because, I think the Wild had the second highest hit total in any game in the playoffs in their history in game one. So that is part of their DNA and what makes them good. So, riding that line, riding that fence is obviously huge if you want to have a chance to win. And you mentioned the penalty that Europe took the other day. I did not like that penalty at all. You're gonna, when you are gonna be that physical as a team, there's times you're gonna be sitting in the penalty box just because of the way your DNA, the way you play. But you just can't take those extra ones where your stick accidentally comes up and clips somebody. Those are the ones that are really, really hard to kill. So it's a fine line. For sure, for playing hard and not sitting in the penalty box. And obviously, we know this Dallas Stars power play I think they finished second in the National Hockey League. So it is going to be a constant talker, is just kind of riding that line and continuing to be physical. And we'll see what Game 2 brings us tonight.
Go catch the bus. Have a great broadcast tonight. We'll talk soon. I appreciate the help as always.
You got it. Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate you. Wes Walz helping us out on his way to... Well, Game 2, Dallas, Texas. The Wild leading the series, of course, 1-0. Don't forget, at 7, Gaardsy reminds us, an extended pregame to the pregame, correct?
That's what the schedule says. We'll see what Fallness has ready for us.
Yeah, how many taped interviews?
He should play the Walls back.
He should. Well, but as long as we get copyright, as long as we get credit.
I'm sure we would.
You think he'd give us credit?
He's mostly a team player.
Yeah. How greedy do you think the Wild want to get tonight? How greedy do you want to get?
I want to get. Well, you heard Walz. By the way, that should have been on a hype video when Walz was talking about the huge opportunity tonight.
Yes.
Like you could tell, like the player never leaves, right?
No.
Like you can tell he's thinking of it as a player, and like what he would be thinking going into the game tonight. And when he was talking about just putting the boot on the throat, if we get the face off, dump it in the zone, all of a sudden start churning a little bit. What a great opportunity. We've heard the whole season, or a lot of the season, especially since Minnesota got here, that this team is different. Like that would stamp, obviously doesn't guarantee anything, doesn't win you the series, but if you go in there tonight and play really well and win, that is some pretty legitimate proof that this is a different type of club that you're dealing with right now.
There's nobody who can with a straight face tell me that the goalie performance in the regular season finale against Dallas, as I mean the last game against Dallas, did not have an impact on this decision.
But you know what?
I don't care what anybody says about one game. I brought the game up to Garen, and Garen said you never do it on one game.
It's frustrating.
But I don't believe it. And again, I might believe it, but it really isn't just that game. To me, that game sort of encapsulated the whole stretch of time, as you heard from Wes, saying it's too long. It's been going on too long. And if you're wavering, this is the game where you go, well, no, that's it. Game, set, match. We can't. We dominated that game. And as Wes said, they probably dominated that game more than the game they won 6-1 the other night in Game 1. So I think it had much to do with it. Now, he could give up 6 goals tonight. And that's what we talked about. Things change very quickly at playoff time. It's not as if the series is won. It's not as if I think we can say the kid is going to be the goaltender forever at this point. But you have to be encouraged by what we saw in Game 1. And look, you're going to, as the cliche goes, if you don't get Dallas's best shot tonight, Dallas doesn't have a best shot in them. So you expect it's going to be difficult. It's still got to be, I think, Dallas has to be favored in this game. They've got great pedigree, the whole bit, but you still go after it, right? And again, maybe the motivation is you can make history, that maybe somebody's told them that. This team has never in its history been up 2 games in a playoff series.
It's wild.
It's just crazy.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But that's sort of where we are. 64686, that's the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. This is out of nowhere. I'm late to the conversation for last week, but regarding if Gaardsy can make the high school sports state hall of fame, has he paid proper homage to those who came before him?
Maybe that's been my problem.
Could that be some of it?
Yeah.
You might be right.
I haven't acknowledged those who built the high school league before me.
That's very, very possible. Would Fallness just replay his program password victory? That's from Clayton. This is from Fallness himself, listening to your suggestion that he replay the Walz interview in the extended pregame. Not interested, is what Gaardsy's conscience said.
Wow.
Not interested.
He must have a heck of a pregame lined up.
I guess he does. Is
he going to re-rack the Charlie Stramel interview? I think it's Stramel now. He's changed his name, too.
I think it's become Stramel, yeah. But why is it in hockey that
I don't
people
know.
keep changing the pronunciation of their names? It's the one sport where that's the case,
It happens all the time. I don't understand it.
Can you hit the breaking news sounder for me, if you find it?
Is this about Rudy?
No. Well, this is about not so much Rudy, but about Defensive Player of the Year.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So we are talking about the same thing. Victor Wembanyama becomes the first unanimous NBA Defensive Player of the Year since the award's inception in 1982-83. It is selected by a global media panel of 100 voters, and obviously with 100 first-place votes, that's the unprecedented part. That means no one else got any first-place votes. Let me give you the lineup behind him, for whatever it's worth. Chet Holmgren, our guy, second. Thompson out of Detroit is third. And Rudy Gobert, the much maligned Rudy Gobert, finishes in fourth place, just ahead of Scotty Barnes from Toronto. I don't see anybody else from our... Jaden didn't make top 10, so there you have it. Rest of the top 10 for the record: Derek White, Wallace, Oklahoma City. So they got two. Thompson, Houston. Dyson Daniels, Atlanta. Anunoby, New York. Duran, Detroit. Draymond Green. And Bam Adebayo from Miami. There is your top.
I don't have a huge problem with any of that.
No, I don't either. That's about right.
Yeah.
I think Rudy is top 5.
I'm glad, honestly, as cynical as I am now about how Rudy is viewed, I'm glad people still voted for him.
Yeah,
I'm glad people still put his name on the ballot.
Much to Shaq's.
It's stupid.
Well, somebody said maybe part of the bitterness with Candace Parker is she also complimented Rudy. Because I mentioned that during the broadcast. I said Shaq's not going to like all this Rudy love.
Right.
During I found it rather refreshing that she didn't seem to have the same agenda. Although I did see a highlights package with Shaq and Ernie and the kids in which they're showing highlights. And on one play, there was a play in the second half where Joker made a nice move and just obliterated Rudy going to the basket, which is going to happen.
Of course.
And, of course, Shaq turned it into, Joker loves this matchup. Because Ernie tried to say, well, he actually played okay. And then what was the comeback from Shaq? Okay's not enough, Ernie. And actually, he played better than okay. I think Ernie was just not trying to cause a problem. But he obviously played very, very well in that game. And, unlikely that can be sustained, but we'll find out later tonight.
Speaking of the Spurs, did you see their take on? It wasn't a whiteout or a blackout; it was like a stripe out with all their different colors.
I was confused. So that was a stripe out. So they have
different sections have different colors.
Have different colors. Is that the next? So that's going to be the next step in this process.
Kind of, because college football teams do that.
Do they already? That's true.
Gophers will do maroon and gold.
What about are we going to bring back card sections where you spell out messages with the cards?
That's been done.
Are we going to do that?
That's been done.
But not in the pros that much, I don't think.
I'm sure Oklahoma City's done it.
Oklahoma City is a cult. Yeah, they'll do anything. Whatever they're asked to do, they'll do.
And if you don't live in Oklahoma City, you can't buy tickets to the game. So it's all friendly fire. So there's no, like Spike Lee can't even get a ticket to the game if they meet in the finals. I liked the color scheme. I thought it was cool.
And we're doing a blackout for our game 3?
Believe so.
Is that the rumor?
Yes.
It's more than a rumor, right?
Yes.
KG going to be in the house for this one?
Don't know. Not sure. And the Wolves are taking on the Nuggets, round 1 of the NBA playoffs. If you're not in the building, you are missing out. So you want in, KFAN.com keyword contest to win a pair of tickets to Game 3. That's this Thursday, April 23rd. That's KFAN.com keyword contest, or buy yours today at Timberwolves.com/playoffs.
I can indeed confirm a question that's come in from another number of listeners. No, Lavelle E. Neal III does not have a vote in the Defensive Player of the Year for the National
Did you ask him? He's a
Basketball
columnist now. Maybe he does.
Association. Pretty sure that is the case, but we'll double check with him on Friday. We never got to this, and I forgot to mention it to Johnny because there's so much else going on. Anthony Edwards, a lot of players, big name players, asked for waivers regarding the 65-game rule because you can appeal. They got an appellate board.
Yep.
And several of those appeals were granted, right? Who's the star for the Detroit Pistons?
Cade Cunningham.
Lucas was. Anthony Edwards was not. And I don't remember reading in any of the explanations how deep they go into an explanation in distinguishing why some make it and some don't. Have no idea. I'm in the minority on this because, the response, the reason I'm in the minority on this particular issue, in terms of my opinion, very much has to do with a comment after the fact that Finchie made. Because Finchie's complaint was, my belief, he said, is that like 2/3 of the time the appeal is successful. And so in effect, the rule doesn't even apply. And he wondered, if that's the case, then you're back to why do you have the rule in the first place? And I kind of agree with Finchie. I know there's people who think, there's fair and there's fair.
Right.
And if it's a collapsed lung, that's a significant injury. But I almost think that when you get into the business of, because I don't think with Edwards it was ever load management. So
exactly right.
It may not have been as cataclysmic an injury, but there's a part of me that says the rule should be the rule. Because otherwise, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get people, what's different about this than this, and how do you decide, and how do you differentiate? I would prefer that everybody be miserable. And if you don't, for whatever the reason, you do not hit 65 games, sorry, you just don't hit 65 games. I don't think this idea that, you're not really telling the story of a season if players who are worthy are not really eligible for some of the postseason awards. I don't really care about that all that much. But next time I have Johnny on, I'll ask him. I don't know if they were given an explanation for why Anthony was not successful with the appeal. But I tend to agree with Finchie. If most of the time the appeals are granted, then let's not even. Why are you even bothering with the rule? The rule was unfortunate this year, but I stand by my belief that we know why it existed in the first place, and it was not any. It wasn't one of those rules that anybody wanted to bring into the equation. It was a desire to send the message that really not just to players but to teams that you're playing around too much with the public. And we got to discourage that, and this is how we're going to discourage it. So I wouldn't have granted any of the appeals, to tell you the truth.
The tough one is the Luka one because it's about the kids being born.
Yes.
And if you deny that appeal, then everyone's going to say, you don't want them to have work-life balance?
Right.
Why do you hate present fathers? Like, that's what...
I still would have held it against him, punished him, because didn't he lose a game for too many technicals?
He may have. Yeah, that sounds right.
One of those, too.
It's
Maybe
possible. Because I do agree with Finchie, too. Ant is not who you're after.
No.
In this game. Because the Timberwolves don't load manage. Tim Conley's been in that studio with you before and said, we're not going to be a load management team. That's not what we believe in. That's not how we operate. So Ant is kind of collateral damage.
Yes.
In that he's not the one that you've been trying to snuff out or the one that you've been trying to penalize or keep your eye on, because he historically has played.
Did Wemby get granted an exception too? Or did he hit 65? I can't remember.
He hit 65 because, I thought he hit 65 because he didn't play.
I thought he did too.
In the last game against Denver.
They thought he was granted one, but I know Luka did, and I know that Anthony didn't, and we know who else did we name?
Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham, yeah,
Yep.
did too.
I'm going to pull up Wemby here quickly, but
Larry Mondello guy writes, with a long pregame show to fill tonight, my sources say Fallen's plans to replay the interviews of KOC, Justin Jefferson, and Rob Brzezinski that Common already replayed to fill time.
That was my favorite.
On the program today. Is that true?
Wemby played 64 games, so you're right.
So he
didn't play the last game of the season when we needed them to beat Denver, so we could play L.A.
Yeah.
No, I'm out. I'm out on Wemby.
I didn't understand from a San Antonio Davies standpoint, to tell you the truth. That didn't make
he had the rib
a lot
thing.
of sense to me.
He had the rib thing, and honestly, if you really want to have the Wemby argument, it's that now it's hard to argue with a team that went 62-20, but he load managed even in the games that he played.
Yeah, he did.
Who was it Mitch Lawrence?
Well, you could make the argument with him. He's so good. He doesn't need to play any more minutes. But
was it Mitch Lawrence that said Roy Tarpley averaged more minutes than him?
Yes.
Which is a great callback to your kid of the 80s.
I mean, the other way to go that's been discussed is don't make it about number of games, but make it about a certain number of minutes. And I don't know how you calibrate what the minutes total would be. And that, I think, is related to Wemby, right? Who's got a lot of games where he played, like 25 minutes, 20. But some of that, I think, was an understandable hesitation and caution on the basis of his own history, what he was coming back from, right? Didn't he have, wasn't it like a circulatory, it was some major serious issue that sidelined him at the end of last season.
That's right. At the end, you're right. At the end of last year, he averaged 29 minutes a game this year.
29 minutes a game.
Yeah.
How about that? That's
played 33 yesterday in their pretty dominant win over Portland.
Yeah, they dominated against Portland, and as we talked about with Johnny, I'm not sure the Lakers' victory was a complete surprise because the stunner was Durant was ruled out right before the game started, I think.
Right.
I don't think anybody saw that coming. And so the Lakers obviously have two of their people out, but Houston is so dependent on Durant that I'm not totally surprised in game one. The biggest shocker does have to be Detroit. Never led at home in game one.
Yeah.
A team that won 60 games against a team, Orlando, that people, honestly, last rites had been given to the coach. The franchise might move. The players are at each other's throats. They don't play smart. They put up bad shots. They don't play connected. I mean, it was a complete character assassination of that entire team going into the through the play-in, right?
Yep.
And then they host Charlotte, and they destroy Charlotte.
And
that
everybody
was
loves
never
Charlotte.
A game, and everybody loves Charlotte. They never allowed them to be in that game at all. And then they go to Detroit and kind of expose the one weakness that everybody feels about the Pistons is whether they've got enough firepower, beyond Cade Cunningham.
And that game, from the jump, if I just jumped in and watched that game knowing nothing about the two teams, and I did watch it from the beginning. I didn't watch it throughout, but it happened to be on. And the Magic jumped out like they were the most connected team of all time. Their energy was unbelievable. Their connectivity seemed authentic. The whole thing, they seemed like a team that couldn't wait to play together. And our guy Suggsy was a big part of that. He had a couple of threes right away.
Well. Yeah.
Diving on the floor.
Well, that's been part of their issue is him staying healthy.
Yeah.
He's not been able to stay healthy because he's a glue player for them. Everybody says he's key. And who's the German?
Wagner.
A couple of the plays he made in the second half when Detroit was making a run were absurd. I mean, he's capable. And he missed, in fairness again to Orlando, I think he missed like 45, 50 games. He missed a bunch this year as well. So maybe it's just them finally, fitting all the pieces together. We have time for a few texts, and we will review a very busy program today. Outstanding analysis from two hockey guys and one basketball guy. 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. We'll give you an update on the schedule tonight. It's very busy in the toy department for all the obvious reasons. We'll lay all of that out. Are we doing bonus bucks this hour?
Not in the 6. No, sir.
Back in a minute.
Show wrap brought to you by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Well, I mean, in theory, for those whiners, those folks who aren't whining about late start time, this should be a great night if you're a Minnesota sports fan. You got the hockey team fresh off a terrific statement victory in Game 1 with a chance to go up 2-0 on the road against the reeling Dallas Stars. And, of course, you got the Wolves with a second chance to try to get themselves right back in the series against a team, a Denver club that obviously knows them as well as they know Denver. No question about that. Both later than you'd like, but come on. That's what we wait for. Now, it's only first round, and they'd sneer at this in Boston historically. What we're all hoping for is history being made. Both teams advancing out of round 1 to round 2. It certainly feels after one game that the Wolves challenge is greater than the Wild, but we all know how quickly another game can change the feel, right? What if Dallas comes back tonight and dominates 6-2?
And the Great Wall of St. Paul crumbles.
And it gets benched midway through the third period, right? That's the beauty of the postseason, is it can very cruelly shift, and it can also shift in your direction in a very dramatic way, too. I had mentioned much earlier my belief that as much emphasis as there is on Anthony Edwards maybe not having everything physically that he has been accustomed to, I honestly believe that I'm more concerned with the performances of the so-called medium knockers. Not the big knocker that Anthony Edwards is, but the medium knockers. And by those players, I certainly start with Julius Randle, but that also includes Naz Reid to a great degree. It should not be too much to ask that you get more than you got from either player. The box score number that Julius ended up with was respectable, but he was not there for much of the game, especially defensively. And Naz Reid wasn't there at all, as far as I'm concerned. And look, as we talked about with Johnny, I'm okay. I really am okay at this point with mixing up and jolting this rotation.
Yeah.
And if necessary, because I don't think that they really have all that much to lose at this point. And if that means going smaller, if that means going with a couple people who will go downhill against a defense that is the Achilles of the number one weakness of Denver, I'm all for that as well. So the rotations are going to fascinate me tonight. The leash, I think, should be short on anybody who's just not into it, whether it's about officials or it's about not getting back guarding, whatever the case may be. And in the case of the Wild, you can argue they're playing with house money, and they are to a certain extent, because if they go back with a split, they're certainly in decent shape for sure, right? Nothing's guaranteed but in decent shape. But I think the way you have to look at it, when you're the new ascending team, you go game by game, and you say, I'm not going to wait. If the opportunity if it presents itself by the way we play, there's no law that says you can't go up 2-0. Maybe Dallas is tired. Maybe Dallas has figured we've kind of done the 3 years to the Final Four and not any further, and maybe we're missing a little something. Maybe they're ready to be beaten. So you go after it, and you know, again, I don't think you have to go curl up in the fetal position if you lose, but I don't think you just go with the old, well, split's fine, we're fine. Deal with what's in front of you. Deal with the way the game plays out.
As good an opportunity as you've had in a really long time. You know, they were up 2-1 last year going into against Vegas at home. Weren't able to win. It was a weekend game, if I remember right. On Naz Reid, one of the talking points on him, and I believe it's legitimate, that his shoulder's been bothering him for months, and that's affecting him. And I believe that's probably true. But on the flip side, if it's true, at what point do you try to find a different solution where it isn't, you're not needing him to be the sixth man or asking him to be the sixth man of the year? Because it might not be in him this year because of the injury, and that's not even a rip on him.
Right.
Now, the attitude stuff.
That's annoying.
And I talked about it yesterday. He comes into the game gets put into an action with Jamal Murray immediately and just lets him go right by him for a 3-point play. Like, that has nothing to do with the shoulder.
No.
Get in a stance, guard somebody.
Or, again,
help out.
even he puts himself in a position where he makes it easy for officials to call fouls on him, too. It just doesn't make any sense to me. By the way, ESPN's top 50 players in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Texter guy 612 writes that ESPN has Gus Bus as 32nd ranked player, Volstead 38.
For now.
That could change by the end of
but you know what?
the playoffs. Maybe even the end of this series. Also, for the record, Wemby had blood clots last year.
That's what
I knew it was something pretty significant that was more than just your average injury. So tonight, Wild and the Dallas Stars extended pregame will start at 7. Is that correct?
Micheletti and Halverson will help out with Fallness.
And it doesn't sound like he's going to replay the Walz interview. He seems bored with it.
No, but he's got, Joe and Tom.
Okay, that's fine.
He's got Beaupre. He sent the list.
And then
there's a couple of guys I'd take out.
The regular
to play
pregame
Wes Walz.
show, and then Wild will be on the fan. So the opening face-off 8:40-ish.
Yes.
Is that what we think?
I think Fallness at 8:50.
8:50.
Yep.
That's the way it usually works. Similarly, the Wolves will be on the Timberwolves channel even later. That's supposed to be like about a 9:45 start Central. Also available via News Talk AM 1130, which I think we're going to try to make a regular deal as long as the Wolves are in this thing.
And 103.5 FM.
That's right. You got that option, too. So you got a lot of
Alan Horton and
options.
Jim Pete. I love it.
Yeah.
Because there's no local TV.
There's no local TV in the first round for basketball, the way there still is in hockey, I might add. I want to thank our outstanding array of guests today. Wes Walz, who in fact is on the broadcast, the TV broadcast tonight. He joined just before he got on the media bus to the arena. That was at 5:30. Johnny Athletic was at 4:30 today. And Luigi must have had a scheduling issue for tomorrow.
He did.
So he joined us today as well. That was at 3:30, all podcastable and downloadable. And because these games start so late, you still have time to listen to all of them.
You listen to the whole show.
The whole show before you get to the first intermission. Tomorrow, we expect Kevin Seifert because we're getting very close to the draft now, which is Thursday, day one. We expect Wexler on Wednesday, but Seifert tomorrow. And who else am I forgetting for tomorrow?
Nobody yet. We'll have, I'm sure, something Wild, and I'm sure something Wolves.
Yeah.
We'll mix and match that together.
That's going to be pretty much the plan.
Russo's probably going to be Wednesday before Game 3.
Russo helped us out on Sunday, despite the fact he had like 6 podcasts to do, too.
Tomorrow apparently is a very busy day for the young man as well.
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Okay. Fair
so
enough.
we're going to work on Wednesday for Russo before Game 3.
I understand all of that. We'll make it work. Thank you for texting today. Thank you for watching today. Thank you most definitely for listening as well. And maybe even time for some A-section stuff tomorrow. Maybe not. We may be in a heavy toy department period for all of the obvious reasons. Enjoy the puck tonight. Enjoy the basketball tonight. And we hope chat with you tomorrow beginning at 3 o'clock right here on The Fan.
This is for all the Tostitos.
Change the space. Be happy. Enjoy it.
Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the great time. We love you, Dan.
Well, go Twins. Thank you for the airtime, and I'll talk to you soon.